So this week I've been doing some sponsored streams, taking a look at Dfiance. I wanted to show off some of the gameplay here, give an idea about how the game actually plays, what it's all about, and then I'll share my thoughts at the end as to where it's at. You know, do I recommend it or not? Things that are good, things that are bad, that sort of thing. So right away, we'll just go ahead and skip this this mulligan phase, but you get a bit of a mulligan phase. And then an opportunity to play any cards dependent on your resources here. So we've got like 3 out of 6. We're going to go ahead and pass, build it up to 6 out of 6 in an attempt to play some bigger stuff. This here in the top left, this will be the cost of the card, and you'll see when we go to play it, you can play it in a number of regions. So there's these 4 kind of rows, these regions, one up front, one in the back, and then these flanks on either side. So I'll try to kind of show off what's going on here. Maybe we get a cool little demonstration. So we've got two minions here on this right side. That's going to completely fill our flank. We'll have the same on the left here. And you'll be able to get way more in the front in this like melee row, and a lot more in the range row. And you can see like these are our ranged minions, these are our melee minions. Kind of just breezing through, you know, the actual effects on these cards. As of right now, it's not super important, but you'll be able to do things like, for example, I can move the opponents. You can see all 4 of these areas. This is a faction that likes to, you know, kill your own minions for their own benefit. So we're sacrificing a lot of stuff here. That's sort of our strategy. So we want to play some small things. This also kind of an interesting concept. I can go here and play this like spy over in their area, end the turn, and then it has a negative effect for them. But you might notice, so like, why do we have all these different regions? What is the purpose of them? What is the benefit? Well, if I do something like, I really want to spread out my minions, right? I want some up here, some on the right, some on the left. At the start of your turn, you'll notice that you get an extra point. See, 1 there and 1 there. These are called tactical points. This is for your end total in the game. You get an extra point for each of these areas where you have more points than your opponent has points. So there's a lot of strategy involved in exactly how you want to end up spreading your minions about. You know, I'm going to go here and attack here with this minion, but I could have optionally put something in the back row, try to capture this back row here during my next turn. So a lot of choices to be made. And finally, here, we'll do this just for dramatic effect. Spells as well. So you see we got like 6 out of 6 for these resources, these action points. Well, we also have individual points for some spells here. So you'll see that cost all 3 of my spell bubbles, whatever you want to call them. But it is a bit of its own resource. So with it being its own resource, it's yet another thing to consider when you're building decks. And you know, what cost you want, how many spells versus how many minions, that kind of thing. So here we're getting pretty close to the end of the game, right? 10 turns overall. It looks like we're gonna squeak this one out just barely. We'll go here, kill our own guy, put him to the right in an attempt to deal some damage there. So I know glossing over a lot of the effects on cards, but you'll see we have the ability to do things like damage their minions. You can try to kind of capture all these different points, and then here, whoever has the highest total right at the end, they're actually going to end up taking the game, getting the victory here. So that's what the game looks like, but what do I think of it? Well, generally speaking, I enjoy the fundamentals of the game. So lots of effects to play with. You'll see I was able to deal some damage to their enemy minions. I I can do things like sacrifice my own minions. Lots and lots of effects we didn't get to see in that very quick showcase where we just, yeah, kind of breezed through things. But especially I found in the opportunities where I got to play against another human, that was just a game against AI, which showcases the game. But against humans, I had some really close matches, a lot of back and forth. It came down to the very last turn. You're having to make strategical decisions all along, and then finally someone is able to pull it out right at the end. Very, very cool feeling. I think the art is very good. I love, the full card art. I know in real world, trading cards are moving towards that kind of thing where you get to showcase a lot more of the art. Very obvious that they spent a lot of time on it. Just the whole concept of this battlefield, reminds me a bit of Gwent. I was a big Gwent player when it first came out. Loved it in The Witcher 3. But having to think about, where am I placing my minions? If I'm stacking up my minions on either of the flanks, that's great because I take them, but then it's full. So, do I have to sacrifice one of my own minions to then put a better minion there? Or do I want to compete for a particular area or just kind of leave it open? Adds a lot to the overall gameplay, but as well the deck building, because you have to think, well, how many do I want in the front row versus the back row? So quite a bit there. And just in general, I think there's a lot of mechanics in the game that I'm yet to explore. So you can build a deck that, in that case is around sacrificing your own minions. There's a lot of stuff that's around drawing cards. You can destroy your opponent's cards in their deck. You have sort of a debuff silence effect on enemy minions, just tons of different ways to do things. And then the fact that you've got these, two different resources. You've got the resource that you play for any of your minions here, and then this buildup of spell resources. It's just adding another sort of branching decision path on what you want to do in the game. So I can see a lot of complexity, and from just streaming the game for a week, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of how far it can go. But it's not all great, right? There are some downsides to the game. So I don't know exactly where they consider it now, if it's still, early access or what. They just pushed this big update on Monday, so it's in a much better state than it was before. But there's still some stability issues. I disconnected from some games, a few bug fixes. Some of the sound effects need to be implemented for some of the cards that are being played. UI transitions you might have seen on like the victory screen. I think that could be smoothed out. It's mostly minor stuff. Nothing that really concerns me from a game that's just still kind of getting its legs under it. Certainly nothing that took me out of the experience. But I think the big thing right now is that they need a stable player base. And that's exactly what this kind of promotion over this week has been, right? They're trying to get people to see the game, to try it out for themselves. Then when you queue up, much better chance that you're going to actually hit people. During my streams, I've actually been able to play against viewers, so I've been kind of fortunate in that way. Of course, you can like jump into their Discord, something like that, set up some games if you specifically want to make sure that you're playing against other people, set it up with your friends, whatever it might be. But right now, if you just queue up at a random time throughout the day, there's not a lot of active players, so you're not guaranteed to actually hit somebody right now. Now, they are doing things to try to improve that. Like I said, this kind of promotion. It sounds like they'll be doing some tournaments in the near future, which I think will be a lot of fun for getting people involved, having a reason to actually play the game, as well as spectate, right? See what other people are going to bring as far as deck choices and how do they make decisions in the game. I think that adds a lot to it. So really just as the player base grows, I think the game is going to get better, even if they don't tweak anything, even with no bug fixes, no balance changes, anything like that. Just because, a meta develops, there's that sort of excitement of a community, and there's questions. Everyone's figuring things out still. So, not having that player base right now, it's a little bit tough if you jump in just to check it out. But hopefully it does get there in the near future. So what are sort of my overall thoughts, recommendations. We've got the good, we've got the bad. Well, right now, the game's free. It doesn't need to be installed. This is just a browser game. I'll link it in the description. So I think it's worth a try, right? At a very minimum, I think if you just look at this as though it's a demo, right? Maybe you are going to just queue into AI. But it's a fine time to actually just be able to test out the mechanics of the game, get a feel for how it actually plays, and it'll give you a good sense of whether or not you're going to like it. Very cheap investment of, yeah, like I said, not even having to install or spend any money. You'll get a sense for it pretty quick. So I at least recommend that everybody try that. And then I would say just stay tuned however you normally stay informed for games. So whether you're following like the Twitch category, you check out Twitter, Discord, whatever it is, I would keep in touch with one of those channels. Look for upcoming events like the tournaments, updates, bug fixes. You can just pop in, check out the player base. There's a leaderboard. You'll get a sense for how many people are playing actively. And if you're seeing that, then maybe it's going to drive more interest, right? It's one of those things that kind of snowballs. So if you show interest and other people are showing interest, well, then the game is more fun and people want to stick around. So I do recommend at least, keeping your eyes on things as they develop. If you want to do more, there is a bit more to do in the game. You don't have to treat it like a demo. You can still claim your daily rewards. You can play in some daily matches. You'll still get those rewards to upgrade your cards. You'll unlock some new cards. So as the player base is growing, you'll be ready for actually tweaking your deck, trying some new things out. So there is still some benefit to that. But I will just warn, right, this whole thing is with the caveat. This isn't in a state where you can just sink 1,000 hours into it right now. Any competitive multiplayer game, I think that's essentially what people are looking for. They're looking to sink tons and tons of time and effort, dedicate a lot of thought into how they can be better. And without all that in place right now, I just don't think, don't think it's quite in that state. So, I will say the one real nice thing at this point, there's no way to spend money in the game. You see here in this this main screen, you actually can't spend money. You're just getting free resources, and everyone's in the same place. So it is sort of the most fun time of any card game where everyone's figuring things out. What is the meta going to be? What's good or not good? And they're trying all kinds of things. You don't have to worry about somebody just dropping their credit card and, their deck spirals out of control and it's just an unwinnable matchup. You don't end up in those kinds of situations. So if you are looking to poke around, you do end up playing with other people. You're going to be on that level playing field, and it should be fun. So again, at the very least, I think link in the description. Check it out. Think of it as like a demo. Keep your eyes peeled on what's to come. If you want to sink a little bit more time into it, get some of those rewards. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I'm certainly going to be sticking around, keeping an eye on things, maybe doing some more streaming and playing in the game. I'm very excited to see where it goes. As far as sponsored content goes, my expectations are never that high, but I've been really actually surprised by this and genuinely excited for what's to come with the game.